Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. This is the match preview for Burnley versus Manchester United in the Premier League. Huge game for United, plenty to talk about. Let's get right into it. Now, as we know, Manchester United go into this game on the back of 3 defeats out of their last 3 games in all competitions, and we are in the doldrums pretty much. And the first point I want to make here on this match preview is that there cannot be any more excuses. I don't care if it's players, I don't care if it's performance, I don't care if it's manager tactics. We cannot have any more excuses going into this game on the weekend. We need to win, and we need to win convincingly. Obviously, the last 3 games have been, really poor for Manchester United. I think the scoreline in Bayern Munich midweek flattered Manchester United, and the performance that was put in, I think it was nowhere near good enough. We never really laid a glove on Bayern Munich. I think the tactics, Erik ten Hag kind of went back to what he knows and what I suppose the players are probably more familiar with, which was, the 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, whatever way you like to call it, with Casemiro, Bruno and Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno and Eriksen in the midfield. So it's going to be interesting to see, what way he sets up on the weekend, but there cannot be any more excuses. We need work rate, we need heart, we need desire. We've seen a loan player on a short-term deal in Reguilon put in 2 man-of-the-match displays in the last 2 games for Manchester United and be basically one of our only outstanding players. Him and maybe Rasmus Højlund I would put into that category, but I think Reguilon has been by far our best player in the last 2 games. The difference between a player that's maybe playing for his future, he's on a short-term loan deal. Does he want to stay at Manchester United long-term, or does he want to go back and maybe fight for his place in the Spurs team long-term? That remains to be seen, but his future is certainly up in the air, and we see the desire and the hunger and the passion that he's been putting in the last couple of games for United. So hopefully we continue to see that out of him, but we need to see it out of a lot more players. We need to see more out of midfield. We need to see more out of defence in general. Stop conceding goals. But we'll get into some of them points in a few minutes, but there can't be any excuses going into this game on the weekend. Manchester United need a win, and we need to maybe silence some of the doubters a little bit and put Burnley away early. Now, secondly, we're going to talk about goals being conceded, because we've conceded 14 goals in 6 games, and it's not good. Now, look, a lot of the criticism on Wednesday night against Bayern Munich fell at the feet of Andre Onana, and I have the utmost respect for him for coming out. He, I suppose, stepped forward, done the interview after the game and said, it's my fault. He took responsibility. And it's something that we haven't seen in this Manchester United squad in the last few years. Players have shied away. They haven't, stepped forward and really taken responsibility. You might get, an Instagram post a day or 2 after, heavy defeats saying, stick with us, we're sorry, the fans don't deserve it. All of this nonsense. Andre Onana stepped up and he, stepped to the front of the line and said it was my fault. Now, it wasn't just his fault. We haven't been defending very well this season at all. And look, I know we've obviously had a lot of injuries in defence. Malacia, Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, who, by the way, I think is, reports are suggesting that he could potentially be back in time. So we need to shore up that defence as quickly as possible, because I've said it an awful lot. Last season, while we might not have scored an awful lot of goals, the foundation of last season was based on a good defence. We were very hard to score against, and we haven't been very hard to score against this season. We've been quite easy to score against. That needs to change. It needs to change quickly. Now, as well in midfield, obviously midfield has been an issue, and I mentioned it on the watch along during the week that this one particular goal has been scored against us constantly, where a ball has been worked down either side, it's cut back onto the penalty spot or onto the edge of the box, and the opposition player is just there to take a free shot. And we conceded 2 against Brighton, 1 against Spurs, 1 against Arsenal, and then again on Wednesday night against Dortmund, or against Munich. It's the same goal. And I put it down to lack of legs in midfield. Casemiro is getting an awful lot of stick over the last few games. He can't do it all. He hasn't. Obviously, Bruno's the more advanced player in the midfield. He's going to be up the field, probably the furthest, the highest up the field. So you would expect him to be getting there least out of the three midfielders. I have to put a lot of the blame to the feet of Christian Eriksen here. He just doesn't seem to have the legs. He was run past so easily in midweek against Bayern Munich. It was so clear to see. He just can't lay a glove on these young, physical, fast midfielders that he comes up against. He's very good in creating, but he gives us absolutely nothing in defence. So that leads us on to Amrabat. Does he come in? Reports are suggesting that he is going to be available for selection. We've seen in the past Ten Hag tends not to put new players in straight away as soon as they're ready. But, I mean, if you're talking about wants and needs, fans want Amrabat in, and I think the team needs Amrabat in to give us that energy, to give us that defensive side of his game. I think he should probably play, and I think he probably will play. So it's going to be an interesting one to see. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Amrabat should come straight into the team, or do you think maybe we go with somebody else? You know, Christian Eriksen. You know, obviously the opposition, with all due respect to Burnley, it's not going to be an easy game, but they're not going to be at the same levels as the likes of Bayern Munich. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now let's talk about Burnley. And look, Burnley come into this game with 1 point out of 5 games in the Premier League, and obviously that point did come in their previous game against Nottingham Forest. They got a 1-1 draw. Now look, I would say Burnley on paper, and I hate saying this on paper phrase, because on paper Manchester United should be beating a hell of a lot of teams, but we haven't been doing it this season. Manchester United should have too much for Burnley. Now, home advantage to Burnley at Turf Moor is going to be a big, I suppose, talking point within the game coming up. And of course, Vincent Kompany, being the ex-Man City player that he is going to want to do everything in his power, not just to get 3 points for his team and his club. I'm sure that's number one in his priority list, but I think right behind that is going to be beating Manchester United as a manager. He's going to want that more than anything else. So Manchester United are going to have to be on their game. The one thing I don't want to see going into this game is you're going to have Turf Moor as a cauldron on Saturday night, 8 o'clock under the lights. It's going to be a really hostile atmosphere because Manchester United are coming to town, and of course the connection there, you know, Vincent Kompany, Man City, all that kind of stuff. The one thing I do not want to see is Manchester United players shying away from the challenge. We've seen that too much over the last few years, where there's a big challenge, there's the fans are on your back, you're playing away from home, so on and so forth, and we tend to shrink. Now, we didn't see an awful lot of that last year. Obviously, our away form last year wasn't that good, but I would put that down to other reasons. But we need to go out, we need to get 3 points. We need to be putting Burnley away early. We need to take our chances. We've seen over the last few games, we tend to start games well. Spurs, first half, really well. Brighton, first 20 minutes, really well. Bayern Munich during the week, first 15-20 minutes, started really well. But we are not scoring goals early. We need to score goals early, put Burnley to the sword nice and early, get a couple of goals ahead, and then manage the game. But it's not going to be easy. Now, let's talk about our predicted 11. And of course, some of this now can be subjective, you know what I mean? We don't know who's quite available yet, who's, coming back from injury. Obviously, we'll know more once Erik ten Hag gives his pre-match press conference. But going off of the information that we have and who's available, this is the team that I'm going to go with. But again, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Who would you go with? I'm going to start, obviously, with, I think, the back four, back five. Bar one, maybe, is a bit subjective, but Onana in goal, Delot at right back, Reguilon at left back, and then Martinez and Lindelof. Now, we can potentially, if Varane is fit and is available for the game, and he's available to start, I think he does go straight back in, given the defensive woes that we've had so far this season. But even with that, I think this defence should be strong enough to go out and get a relatively comfortable result against Burnley, you would hope. When we're talking about midfield then, again, I think this is pretty much the same team that I predicted for the Bayern Munich game. Obviously, Amrabat wasn't available at the time. We are hearing potentially he is going to be available. So I would go with Casemiro, Amrabat and Bruno Fernandes. Christian Eriksen just hasn't got the legs. He really doesn't. I think he's more of an impact player now, maybe coming on in the last 15, 20 minutes of a game to probably keep possession if we find ourselves a couple of goals up, see a game out, all of these kind of things. So this is the midfield that I would go with. I think Amrabat will give us that legs in midfield that we desperately need. And the forward line then, again, it's the same forward line that I said I wanted to see before the Bayern Munich game. And look, obviously it has Garnacho, Rashford and Rasmus Højlund. Look, Pellistri started and played relatively okay in Munich midweek, but I think it just goes to show maybe the lack of experience that he does have. He was found wanting just a little bit. Now it's not a criticism on the young lad in any case, because he's relatively inexperienced when it comes to these kind of big games. So for that reason alone, I would go with Garnacho ahead of Pellistri in this game. I think he'll give us that that real sharpness up there, maybe the running in behind that we'd like to see. I think, we've seen Rasmus Højlund maybe dropping out an awful lot and creating space in behind. I think it would be ideal for the likes of Garnacho and Rashford to be running in, because both of them have got bags of pace. So, look, that's going to be my starting 11, guys. Let me know yours in the comment section below. Look, I think we should have more than enough to get 3 points here. Now, if we're going with a score prediction, again, look, I've said it multiple times already. Manchester United should be winning this game. We cannot have any excuses. We need to put Burnley to the sword, put them away early, and then we can rest players that maybe we might need to rest. If players are coming back from injury that can't do 90 minutes, so on and so forth. We need to be scoring goals early. We need to be taking our chances. I do worry about the defence. Because we've been conceding so many goals, I think we may still concede a goal in this game. I do hope it's not the first goal, because we've seen too often that our heads go down quite easily if we do go behind. But my score prediction for this game, I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Manchester United. I think we should have too much for Burnley. Like I said, they've only got 1 point so far in the league this season. Yeah. Please just go and win this game, because we need a win and we need to turn the negativity into positivity quicker, or sooner rather than later. Let me know your score prediction in the comment section below as well, guys. We will be doing a watch along live tomorrow night for the game, so make sure you're tuning in for that. Please hit the like button, hit subscribe as well, and hit share. Hope to see you tomorrow night. We'll see you over there. Catch you soon.